Welcome to Connected Leadership number 2. So this is a series where Pete and I exchange views, opinions, experiences based on probably too many decades of experience in leadership consulting and coaching. We're tabling an assertion. We're going to determine whether that assertion, we see that as a hit or a myth. If you want to know where hit or myth comes from, watch the first episode. All will be explained there. Last time in the first piece, we talked about distributed leadership. And one of the comments that we made in that conversation, Pete, was it's a paradigm shift for people who see themselves as leaders in positions of authority, and they work their way up to that position. When you start to enter into a world of distributed leadership, you have to unlearn some things. Maybe one thing you have to unlearn is your paradigm of followership, leadership and followership. So what's your take on that?
Well, I'm reminded of a Harvard Business Review article on leadership, which was certainly a position they took that I used to subscribe to heavily. And that is that to be a leader, you need to have at least one follower. So the notion of leadership, by definition, demands followership, and it requires the creation of followership. And so, isn't that the role of the leader? Is that a hit or is that a myth, Chris?
Well, let's see, shall we? I think I know which way I'm inclined on this, largely because of all of the coaching work I've done on leadership. But I'm with you so far. So you can't be an individual contributor, if you're working completely in isolation. If leadership is about having an impact, having influence, it's making a difference, I guess you could lead yourself and make a difference to yourself, but that's not really what we mean. So you very quickly get into this idea that as a leader, I'm front and center stage. My impact and my influence is over people. If I'm to have that impact and influence, they should look to me and follow. Well, it's obvious, isn't it? Follow my lead. And I think, and you said, early stage of your career, and I think that's true for a lot of people. When we're working our way up through professional life, we are trying to increase our influence, and we are trying to, I guess, gain authority, gain power, be recognized for that, be recognized for our abilities. And that means we do put ourselves front and center, and we want people to respond constructively to what we're doing, to what we're saying, and to run a team, to run an organization or part of an organization. But what happens when you've done that for some years, and you may have a very loyal set of followers you've built up? What you may not have realized is you've created a dependency. So those followers, you've trained them, you've rewarded the behavior of you giving them all the answers. You've trained them to come to you with their questions, and you feel good, you're validated, they feel good, they get their answers. But it can build up what I call a racket. So I'm addicted to being right all the time. They're happy to depend on me, but it's not scalable. So what happens then if you, as the organization grows, or you try and move on, you find what you've done is you've created a closed and locked system where no one can escape, and as a result, no one can grow. So that, I think, is, you can see where I'm thinking the focus on followership can be dangerous, might be a dangerous myth. But let me ask you for your experiences.
Yeah, well,
there.
I mean, do you not think that people want to follow? Is it not part of a human condition that we want to follow something, somebody, some being in all aspects of life? And not everybody can be the leader. So we're all looking for some sense of direction. We're looking for some sense of guidance. We're looking for other people to make decisions. We're looking for other people to take accountability. And people are generally happy to execute what's expected of them within the context that's provided by somebody else. And that's why I therefore follow. So I look to somebody else to give me that direction, to tell me what some of the answers might well be, to tell me what some of the parameters are that I need to work within, and I will just follow. And some people are very well equipped in personality and in mindset and in skill and capability and in behavior and confidence to be that focal point for us, which is why we create so much followership.
Yes. Although when I'm listening to that bit, I'm thinking, where is the opportunity for growth in that? I'm going to follow, I'm going to follow, I'm going to follow. Just tell me what to do. So I've become recently more and more passionate about the role of a leader is to develop growth in themselves and in others. So maybe to inspire, but not to tell. So to inspire, if I could inspire a growth mindset in you, where you'd be trying new strategies, you might be looking to me, you might be looking to other people for help, but you'd be trying to achieve something for yourself without being spoon-fed. Now, so the danger is, if you look to any one person to have all the answers, and if you scale this up, if you have an organization that relies on one person having all of the answers, are they going to be right all the time? So, it's a complicated world. No individual can be an expert in everything. If you're at the top of a large organization, you don't even have access to the reality of what's going on with clients and customers. So those people who do the work know the work. There's a level of expertise that you can't have. So to position yourself as a leader as omniscient is really, I think that sets you up to fail. You become a single point of decision making. Your decisions might not be right. And when they're not right, if I say I'm adaptable, I can learn from experience, but the people who you've created as followers will now lose trust with you because you've set up an expectation with them that you are going to be right much more often than you're wrong. And then, our leaders have feet of clay. What happens then? Or, what does happen then? And even worse, I think you can set up a good news culture where people are then afraid to tell that leader that actually they're not really, they're in, what did they call Steve Jobs? They said he set up an alternative reality around him, which wasn't reality. So that I find, some of the concerns about falling too easily into that leader follower trap.
Yeah, I can certainly see some of the dangers, and I have seen many examples of the charismatic leader who's taken up a position of authority, and they will build the systems and the frameworks and the models around them that protect and preserve that authority and that status. And so if leaders are not creating followers, what I hear then is that leaders are about creating leaders.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? So
Yeah.
leadership is not about creating followership. Leadership is about creating leadership or leaders.
Yes. Because we said the first model is not scalable, but if the role of leader is to inspire growth mindsets, to develop other leaders, then it's very scalable. So as a leader, I can now start, as they say, working to make myself redundant. Now, I don't mean exiting the organization, but I mean that what I was carrying on no longer requires me to be central to it for that to occur. So I'm not abdicating responsibility, but I'm taking responsibility for creating a culture, an environment, a context where people can grow, distributed leadership where people can join together and collaborate. And that's how the work gets done, without me needing to know all of the answers. In fact, I can start to admit where I don't know the answers, giving space for other people to research and reason and come up with solutions that are probably going to be better than the ones that I could have come up with. So that's where that goes, Pete. Yeah.
So that sounds like, as a leader, I need to start developing and exhibiting skills like curiosity, like listening, like building trust, like developing the behaviors of other people. So I think what we're coming back to then is the notion of to be a leader, you must have at least one follower. And the whole notion of followership is a myth.
Yeah. Yes, I think as a leader, your work is not to develop other followers, it's to develop other leaders, that requires maybe becoming more coach-like. So maybe you're developing other leaders, you're developing growth mindset, you're developing coaching clients within your team. You can help those people, if you're using coaching skills, you can help those people to find their axis of strength, to grow those strengths. You as a leader can then, because you're more than a coach, you can help to fit those strengths to people's roles, create the common purpose, facilitate the collaboration. And when that works, I'm just going to leave you with one thought. So I'm saying followership is a myth, developing other leaders is a hit. And in my experience, where I've got at least one example where I've been overtaken and seen somebody who I've helped to develop go sky high in the organization. And I think that's something you can take pride in. So developing other leaders, for me, definitely the hit.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And really just from my own experience in terms of the part of the business that I look after these days, I think 95% of the performance that we get is a function of the leadership behaviors that have been exhibited by people in the business, not by the person who's at the top of the hierarchy, as it were, which in this case is myself. So leaders develop leaders is the hit. Leaders developing followers is the myth in Chris and I's point of view. But we'd be grateful to hear other people's comments and experiences and thoughts on the notion of followership is a myth. Thank you.
Thank you.